It will not deter us. We're fighting, and I assure you, we didn't win today, but we will. The record that was made in there, and the behavior I saw in there, some of which was reported widely today, gave us the most perfect record on appeal, and even if I needed it, which I don't, we were stripped of every defense, every single defense before we walked in there. And I am proud to stand with President Trump because he showed up, he stood up, he took the stand, and he faced this judge. And you know what? I'll continue to do so with him.
Good for her. Absolutely. And all right, so I said if you watch the fake news, you won't know the elements of this case. But if you were on the jury, you wouldn't know some of the basic elements about Jean Carroll. That, I'm sorry, this woman has serious, serious issues.
The word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Mm. Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Mm. We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
She's having the time of her life. The jury wasn't able to see that. The jury from last summer and the jury that came up with this insane verdict. They were not allowed. President Trump was not allowed to introduce this. Deemed irrelevant? How is that not relevant? How about these tweets where she made some horrendously awful, disgusting observations about sex, men, women, herself? They are ugly, they are perverted, they are wrong, and they're relevant. Her views on sex and what is consensual and not consent, that is all perfectly and totally germane. Also the fact that years after the alleged assault, she said she was a fan of The Apprentice. She actually loved watching The Apprentice. I'm a massive Apprentice fan. The jury wasn't allowed to see that. It would undermine her credibility, wouldn't it? At least suggest that there might be another side to this story. But he wasn't able to introduce that. It was just what that person said, Jean Carroll, buttressed by her lawyers. You know, does anybody remember Tara Reid? Tara Reid is a woman who alleges that she was sexually assaulted by Joe Biden when he was a senator, and she worked on his staff. She did. She could place herself on the staff of Joe Biden. There's a record of it. No one's disputing it. I did something here. We did something. We put her very specific allegations and observations against Jean Carroll, the weirdo, her hazy, all over the place nonsense. Take a look at how it turned out.
Paying your bills on time raises your credit score, right? Wrong. In fact, this is the first of 3 major credit score lies you're being told by the big credit companies. Fall for...
Again, how so?
I would see him in hallways or whatever. He would always just greet me, put his hands on me, or put his hands on my shoulder and rub, my neck sometimes. It was just a bit odd.
And it was all fairly playful.
It was charming. It was exciting. Remember what Donald Trump was like in 95, 96.
And she said, you need to button up your blouses, you need to have longer skirts, and you need to not look so sexy and noticeable. And you need to, change how you're dressing.
I had the idea that I'm going to make him put it on over his pants. That was my idea.
Mm-hmm.
I felt scared. What I could say is, I don't know if it was trauma, but I felt frightened. And it wasn't just about what happened. It was my job tied up with it.
Were you scared? Were you angry?
I was too panicked to be scared.
Too panicked to be scared, okay.
I didn't want to talk badly about him, and I wasn't ready to tell my history with Joe Biden at that point at all.
I think I got over it quickly. Because my whole thing is, put it behind you and go enjoy life, right?
I think there's, one appears very credible. The other one appears a little bit kooky, to say the least. So Donald Trump had to put up with all this stuff. And he did go to the court. He actually went and sat down in the, the witness, what do they call that, where you testify from. And here's what he had to say. And look at how the judge treated him. Did you ever intend to hurt Carroll? Trump. No, I just wanted to defend myself, my family, and frankly, the presidency. The judge says at that point, disregard everything after the word no. They handcuffed Donald Trump without technically handcuffing him. The judge, I think his name is Kaplan, Lewis Kaplan. This is not a good guy, not a good judge at all. And he's going to be embarrassed on appeal big time, and maybe worse. You know, I noticed the fake news. They had one observation about him, one that actually, well, take a look.
This is a very experienced federal judge, a very tough federal judge, and Donald Trump had better not cross those lines.
Judge Kaplan has been on the bench for a long time, since 1994. He has good courtroom control, and that means he doesn't tolerate nonsense in his courtroom.
This, though, is a judge, Judge Lewis Kaplan. A lot of people say judges are no nonsense. He truly is. He runs a very tight courtroom, and we'll see what more he does about this if Trump does continue to attend the court hearings.
Yeah, so he's a tough guy, huh? Nobody mentioned anything about his fairness, his honesty, his judicial temperament, just that he's some sort of weirdo disciplinarian when it comes to the gavel. I noticed that. Maybe you noticed that. And the defense lawyer, or the plaintiff, I guess, the plaintiff's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, she was with Jean Carroll in all of this, and there they are today celebrating. You know, she was paid by Reid Hoffman, the billionaire, got some money, and that person happens to be funding Nikki Haley, or was up until a couple of days ago. This thing is absolutely rigged, and I'm glad that Donald Trump walked out. Did you hear? He walked out in the middle of it all.
Here in New York City, Donald Trump walks out of the courtroom during closing arguments in Jean Carroll's second defamation case against him.
A day of high drama in the courtroom. The former president abruptly walked out just minutes into closing arguments.
Donald Trump himself walks out during closing arguments.
I love it. I love it. I remember Animal House in, 1980 or so? Remember when that nasty dean was going after Delta House, right? Trying to kick him off campus. And they had that rigged trial where they already came up with the verdict ahead of time. What happened there?
I put it to you, Greg. Isn't this an indictment of our entire American society? Well, you can do what you want to us, but we're not going to sit here and listen to you bad mouth the United States of America. Gentlemen!
If you have an hour this week, you can learn 100 songs on the piano by learning just 4 chords. These.
America! Gentlemen!
You're not walking out on this one, mister. You're finished. No more Delta. You bought it this time, Buster. I'm calling your national office. I'm going to revoke your charter.
Ooh, Dean Wormer losing it. That's like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, all wrapped up into one, the whole system. That's Dean Wormer. I love that movie. All right, what's next? Humane and Just. Did you hear that they used nitrogen to put to death a convicted murderer